Newcastle United season needed any more incentive, we've just seen the FA Cup draw, as all of you out there I'm sure will have. If you haven't, I don't know what planet you've been living on, but Newcastle United have been drawn to play Sunderland at the Stadium of Light. The first Tyne derby. First Tyne derby for 8 years. Right lads, initial snap reaction. Once I've introduced, step out of the way. Look at this.
You can nearly see
this is a Geordie White Christmas. It's incredible.
on the Tyne, not the Wear.
Right, snap reactions, thoughts, emotions. Dom?
Excited, first of all. I was actually lucky enough to be in the press box the last Newcastle Sunderland game, that 1-1 draw back in 2016. Alexander Mitrovic scoring, and it's a tough game as a journalist to control your emotions in. Just about managed to, yeah, just as a young budding journalist, but now more experienced, and yeah, it's going to be exciting. Us three will hopefully be there if we're allowed in the Stadium of Light. But yeah, it's going to be interesting.
Has he put that so early in the video?
we'll address it later. Yeah, looking forward to it. It comes in a really sort of rough run of games for Newcastle, obviously in between Manchester City or Liverpool and Manchester City. And yeah, the cup draws haven't been kind to Newcastle in a way. They've had 5 winners of the Champions League, Paris Saint-Germain and Sunderland. So the Papa John Trophy winners as well. So yeah, it's going to be interesting. Newcastle haven't particularly fared well against lower league opposition in recent years in the FA Cup, losing against Sheffield Wednesday last season and Cambridge United the season before. So Eddie Howe will be looking for his first FA Cup win as Newcastle United manager, and what a game, or what a chance to do it in at the Stadium of Light next month.
Jordan?
Probably the worst possible draw Newcastle could have got in terms of the emotion, everything around it. Not in terms of the...
No, it's not.
It's the best,
It's the best in terms of emotion, surely.
No, but again, what I'm trying to say is like Newcastle, busy fixture schedule as it is. Between the Sunderland game, they've got Manchester City and Liverpool. It almost feels like they could have done with a little. I wouldn't say easy opposition, because as Don mentioned there, they have actually been beat off lower league opposition in the FA Cup third round, but not a Sunderland.
They needed a gimme, didn't they? They needed a gimme where he could literally just
or
play,
a home tie,
just play, you know, some fringe. I mean, we just don't know what the team's going to look like this time in January, do we?
Yeah, so that's the worry for me, if you like, is how Newcastle United's squad is going to look come that game in the first weekend of January, because as we've seen and as we've spoken on countless of times, Newcastle at the moment really only have 14 fit senior players, and the start 11 that they played for the last 3 games is literally probably the only only strong start 11 they can name, because beyond that is like Paul Dummett and Matt Ritchie's, etc., and under 21s players as well. So if Newcastle go to the Stadium of Light with this squad that they've just played for the last 3 games as start 11, I will back Newcastle to win all day long, because it's a quality opposition, a quality team. But as I say, if you put more injuries into that, which, let's be honest, is probably more likely, given how many games is there between now and then?
20.
Well, it feels like that. Maybe not 20, but it feels like that. And it's a lot of games. If you've got to keep players fit, it's going to be a struggle. Newcastle's squad again will be tested, and to go there in a really emotional game, because I think more from Sunderland's side there is a lot of we want to get them sort of attitude because of the, was it now 7 years outside the Premier League, or so, you know, and let's be honest, Newcastle fans have taken the mick during that time, so I think there'll be a lot of will and anger from their side wanting to get at Newcastle, and it's about how they deal with it. But as I say, Newcastle have got everything to play for as well. This is a local derby. Newcastle haven't won one for 12 years now. Last time was the Ryan Taylor free kick, so Newcastle need to get one over on Sunderland as well. But yeah, it's it's an interesting one. I didn't expect to be stood here with you guys today talking about an FA Cup tie with Sunderland. I expected to be in the house watching Harry Potter. But here we are, previewing a Sunderland game, which, yeah, is going to be very, very interesting.
It's Geordie Juno's commitment for you, though, isn't it?
It is. We always try and bring you the best content possible on scene at the time, talking about the Wear Tyne derby. Right, my thoughts. Yeah, I think it's not a normal game of football. It never has been. It never will be. There's always so much more riding on this game of football. But let's break it down. If Newcastle United are anywhere near full strength or play anywhere near to their capacity, and I think you're sort of seeing that in social media. I don't know many Sunderland fans, if any, really. But what I'm seeing on social media is it hasn't come at a good time for them either. They're not looking at this saying, wow, cannot wait, we're flying, want to be playing Newcastle United. It's the exact opposite. Wouldn't surprise us if there's a change in the dugout by the time Newcastle United go to the Stadium of Light. Of course, yes, there's definitely they've done that a few times, haven't they? But yeah, I just feel that one thing that gets lost in all of the emotion and all the everything that goes with it, that I think is 70% Newcastle United walks that game at the Stadium of Light. But we all know that these games are about so much more than that. The crowd will be loud. It'd be interesting to see how many away tickets Newcastle United get. By FA rules, you should get around 7,000 given the size of the stadium, but I just don't believe Northumbria Police will accept that Newcastle gets 7,000. I think it'll be significantly less, which will be a real shame for the occasion. We've already seen war flags appealing and making sure putting it out there that everybody knows about this through the FSA. We know it's going to be a ridiculous kick-off time just because of it being such a unique occasion these days, because Sunderland have been so poor, that they will put it at 12 o'clock, I'm pretty sure. Or something like 12:30. It'll certainly not be the Friday night game. It'll certainly not be. I'd be surprised if it's sort of a Sunday afternoon type thing, or the late kick-off on a Saturday, which you tend to get on that FA Cup weekend. I think it'll be early doors. I think it'll be limited amount of Newcastle fans, which again for me is a real shame, because I think Newcastle United taking the occasion for the North East, which of course my role as editor straddles across the black and white, red and white divide, being the Shields Gazette editor. Of course, you know, I'm black and white persuasion, and like I say, Dom touched upon that earlier. We'll wait and see if the letter's in the ground. But yeah, I think it's such a big occasion for the North East to be ashamed to lock people out who should really be allowed to go. I think it'll make the atmosphere even better if 7,000 Geordies are allowed into the Stadium of Light. But yeah, maybe I'm being a cynic here, but I just do have the feeling Northumbria Police might put the blocks on that. And I'd be surprised if you see an army of Geordies heading down, probably more like the usual 3,000 that you would get for a Premier League game, I would imagine. But look, I hope I'm surprised. I think it's great. I think it's a great thing for the North East. I think it's a great thing for Newcastle United and Sunderland. It's a game that adds extra spice. I mean, what are you in football for? It's surely these occasions. It's surely the Champions League occasions that we as a trio here have absolutely relished, home and away, playing big games and big occasions. The prospect of dipping into Conference League and Europa League is weird, really. The idea after the Champions League nights that we experienced, it's inevitable on this journey that will happen at some point, as it happens to everybody. But surely it's the big occasions, the big events, the jeopardy that brings the best out in everybody, I think, in football, and particularly Eddie Howe's Newcastle United, when there is some jeopardy on the line, when there is something to play for, when there is a big occasion, apart from the Carabao Cup final, of course. Newcastle United will almost certainly rise to it, and I do believe this season that they've really put a good account of themselves, particularly away from home in those massive occasions, whether that be at Old Trafford, whether that be even early doors going to Manchester City and putting up an incredible fight, even all the Champions League games. If Joe Linton could learn to finish a little bit, which I love him, but I think Dortmund, they would have got a result there, and that would have been an unbeaten away trio in the Champions League. They've done well away from home, and I don't doubt them. It's just, how much does this take out of it? I think almost it's weird, because I think we've spoken about this privately, not publicly. For me, the Cups, to a certain extent, in my head, as you guys know, because I've said this plenty of time, more car journeys. Almost, I kind of want to finish in the top 4 again, because I think we'll be in a better place to attack these things next season rather than this season. But how can you you know, they've been so successful. Like, it's been an incredible season, really. To be right in the mix in the Premier League, to be right in the mix in the Carabao Cup, and have incredible draws that they've had, which is going to be even harder to get through to the semi-final. I no doubt they'll get Liverpool in the semi-final if they do get through in the Carabao Cup, which again would be sandwiched in and amongst the Sunderland game and leading up to potentially, if they get through in the Champions League, to further games. It's just, look, it's been brilliant. It's just probably come a year too soon. But who's to back? I'll never write off this Newcastle United team. I think they prove, whenever I have, they've always proven me wrong, and they continually do it. And I've got no doubt that they'll be up for the occasion. There's players in that team who, there is an incredible togetherness. I don't think Newcastle, talk about the 6 in a row, the 12 years, the whatever, this, that and the other. I've not known a Newcastle United team like this. And I think you go back to like the entertainers and things like that to think of a team of this level. The togetherness, maybe not individually as good, but the togetherness and the way they fight for each other, no matter who goes out in the park, how organised and drilled they are, how solid they are at the back, and how lethal they are in front of goal. I think this will be the best prepared Newcastle United team going to a derby for a long time. So I think as long as they can perform to anywhere near 3/4 or 2/3 of the level that they can, they'll beat most teams in England, never mind a team in the Championship. And that's not me showing any disrespect to Sunderland, because I think with Sunderland, I think they've massively overperformed. I think any Sunderland fan would probably agree. I think they massively overperformed, getting in and did incredibly well, getting into the playoffs last season. And they're almost Tony Mowbray for me. And again, it's hard from an outsider looking in. The outsider in me looking in looks at Tony Mowbray and thinks, how is he at risk? Obviously I don't see Sunderland week in, week out. Only Sunderland fans will be able to really answer that, but he looks to me like a manager who almost has been this pressure is the product of his own success last season. Doing so well, there's almost an expectation he'll do it again, and they're kind of in and around where most would expect them to be, but that expectation has risen. So look, I think it's a great occasion, and I genuinely can't wait for it.
Yeah, it's a banana skin in more ways than one, but I think it's probably the biggest disparity we've seen between the two teams heading into a derby. Previous derbies, it's always been marginal favourites. Probably Newcastle and Sunderland have quite oftenly been evenly matched. This one, there's a disparity. You probably go, Newcastle have one player worth more than Sunderland's entire squad combined. So yeah, it's not lose-lose, but if Newcastle win, it will be, they're red hot favourites to win. They will be expected to win. It's not like previous derbies where it was almost a scalp of sorts. It's going to be a scalp for Sunderland, and they'll be well up for it too. So it's going to be a difficult game, because there's more than just football on the line here, and it's going to be a really, really good weekend for North East football, and hopefully Newcastle can get the job done and win a first FA Cup game under Eddie Howe.
I think, sorry John, before you come in, I just want to mention that I heard a collective roar, a collective cry from Wear side there when you described the wealth of Newcastle United squad competitors.
Excuses are already
I heard Jack Clark going from Wear side.
I can't see anyone on the back of that. I don't know how to come in now. I was going to start talking about injuries again, but
who I do like as a player, actually. I think he's really, really good.
Yeah.
That's tickled you,
It
that,
has, yeah. I didn't expect to call that.
I better watch myself screaming a name like that round here.
Yeah. No, I was just going to mention the injuries again. I think what is key is that Newcastle do go to that game with a healthy squad now. Can they get players back, which I didn't touch on before? You look at potentially players that will come back in December. Eddie Howe said on Friday that likes of Sean Longstaff and Joe Willock wasn't long term, so you'd expect hopefully they'd be back by that time. Harvey Barnes, for example, maybe Elliot Anderson. So there is players hopefully that can come back in, and if they are to pick up more injuries, obviously then players return and it covers them. So yeah, as I say, I think if Newcastle are at anywhere near full strength or anywhere near as the squad they had against Chelsea, Paris Saint-Germain and Man United, I think they do wipe the floor with Sunderland. But as we know, it doesn't always work like that, does it?
Especially not in these games.
Yes,
it's very much a level up, particularly with it being at the stadium.
It is, and I think, you know, if it had been at St James's Park, I would have been totally, utterly confident that Newcastle get a result. But it does add a little bit of an extra dynamic having to go to the stadium. Like obviously more home fans than away fans, and as I say, having known a few Sunderland fans myself, they are absolutely dying to get one over Newcastle United. But I think it's the same with Newcastle. As I mentioned earlier, we've had the 6 in a row, haven't beat them for 12 years. So Newcastle have got as much to play for. But I also
haven't been
think,
able to play them for half that time.
but I also think Newcastle.
Daft statistic.
Yeah.
But I'm sure you've heard it a few times in your at family parties.
Exactly. Yeah. So we'll see. I think it's Newcastle have got more to lose than Sunderland.
That's a big one.
But I do think you'll hear Sunderland fans say that. Sunderland fans are going, Newcastle got more to lose. There's no pressure on us. As I say, knowing a few Sunderland fans deep down inside, they'll be thinking we can beat them. So it's going to be a really interesting game. And yeah, covering a Tyne Wear derby the first time as a journalist will be a different dynamic to a fan. But hopefully I'll challenge my inner Dom and be professional. And we'll see.
Pressure's on you, Liam.
If I'm there, I'm not really sure I can hold it together. I got wrong from Dom in the Parc des Princes, didn't I?
Yes, swearing,
Loudly.
shouting when PSG got awarded a 95th minute penalty or whatever it was.
Starts with F, ends with off.
Beep. Throw with a fist as well.
I couldn't believe it. I thought it was disgraceful.
Hopefully there's more to cheer from your point of view, Liam, and me and Jordan are working hard as well.
We're all pros, and you can also show emotion at the same time. I think any person who's a football writer out there who isn't also a football fan and tells you that would be lying. So we're all fans at heart. Right. One thing I wanted to touch upon, which I think I read the rules right, there are potential replays at this level of the competition, because there's been a lot of talk. I think that's one thing fans will be wondering about, is there was so much talk last summer about replays being binned. Now, I might be putting you both on the spot here, but I had a quick look at the rules and I think it's right that up until round 5, the replays. So there is a potential that if there's a draw at the Stadium of Light, they could do it all again at St James's Park. Right, anything to add, lads?
No, I just think it's all set up, like you say. There's only going to be one winner eventually. I think Newcastle and Sunderland have won the same amount of derby games. And when will they play next after this? So this could be the sort of decider to put that team top of the pile, the northeast pile, if you like, in terms of the derbies for some time. I mean, Newcastle are top if you look at the league standing and recent sort of history, but yeah, I'm sure both teams will be well up for this and be keen to be top dogs, if you like, statistically anyway.
Right, T's and C's time, I think.
Yeah, go for it.
Right, it's getting colder and colder here, and you can probably see the lights failing. But the Geordie journals have invested in a little light here, so maybe you can still see it instead of the darkness that swept across with Brighton and places like that. Even in Paris as well, we can only pack so much in the hand luggage. Right, like, comment, share and subscribe. Come in the comments, is there any videos you want us to do? If you like this kind of thing, let us know. We're always responsive in the comments. We're going to pop ourselves in the free trade in here and just have a little pint and watch this. There's no sun today, isn't it? It's a gloomy night. It's a gloomy night on Tyneside. But yep, you know what to do. Click the bell if you like all the Geordie Journos content. Like, comment, share and subscribe for all your Geordie Journos videos.